Hi everybody. Happy what are we? Tuesday morning. I thought it was Wednesday there, getting ahead of myself. Hope you're all well. I will be inviting Mia Renner, on to join me in a moment. I'm gonna let Mia do a proper introduction for herself because she has such a vast array of amazing things that she does. And I think she is better to introduce herself, but I'm just lighting my Palo Santo to cleanse the energy and make sure that whatever needs to come through is the what the collective needs to hear today. So Mia is someone who I would describe as the healer's healer. Like, she has such a vast array of experience. Obviously I'm a Reiki healer, but Mia's work is like next level, and I'm hoping to train with her in the future. So Mia will introduce herself properly, but she reads Akashic records, gives us a reading, and then she does like a healing and clearing session, and I've had one, and all I can say is it's an absolute game changer. So I'm going to invite her to join me now, and she can tell you a little bit more about what she does. Let's try this. Hopefully it'll work. Protect our video. Hopefully it'll work. She's got a request. Hi Mia.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. I've just got my Palo Santo out to smudge and make sure that our video is protected.
Yes, it's a Mercury. I think Mercury's, I'm not sure if it's in retrograde or about to go retrograde, but I know obviously Saturn's in retrograde, but obviously, you know, the Mercury communication issues.
Yeah. Ooh. I always look forward to Mercury retrogrades. No.
They're great, aren't they? So I've got a couple of my lovely community are on as well. So hey, everybody!
Oh, hi! Thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you all here. So I was going to start off by allowing you to introduce yourself and explaining a bit about what you do and how you work.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it's always interesting when people ask me what I do or what I call myself, because it's like, what do you say really when you work with energy and you're working with the quantum field? It's yeah, so, and I don't like to call myself a healer because we're not healers, we're facilitators, right? And you know, everybody does their own healing, but I work with the Akashic records. So my work revolves around helping people to reprogram their subconscious beliefs, their limiting beliefs, and heal their unresolved traumas and all of the blocks that they've brought with them, you know, their inheritance that they've brought with them from their past life stories, because the past lives obviously influence, you know, the past life traumas and past life attachment mechanisms, intense experiences that we've had with our loved ones in past lives, whether it's with a spouse, partner, parent, sibling, you know, relative. We can bring these experiences with us into our present life because our soul memory system holds onto emotion. It doesn't hold memory, like thought memory, but it holds emotional memory. So obviously the word emotion comes from the word emotion, which is energy in motion. So it's all interrelated. So the soul memory will hold this in the memory system, and it can influence and create distractions in our present life experiences, in how we express ourselves, how we interact in our relationships. It can also determine, before we reincarnated into this lifetime, it can also influence the choices that we make before we incarnate, before we reincarnate into a lifetime, the family that we're going to reincarnate to, because we choose this in Bardo, which is the point between the death in your last life and before the birth of the new life, the present life. So they call this the Bardo. So in this Bardo period, the soul will choose who and where the environment it wants to be born into, the family it wants to be born into, in order to continue its experiences and learn the lessons it needs to learn from the last lifetime. And so this is basically the work I'm doing. So I'm kind of helping people to identify the root of their past life issues, and also the beliefs and the fears that they're perpetuating as a result of this lifetime, their childhood stories, even birth, traumatic births can create issues and fears for people as they grow older. We can also inherit trauma wounding from our bloodline, from our parents, from our grandparents, etc. We can inherit generational wounding from, generations gone by, from wars, famines, plagues, and all of the things that we experience, persecution, and many different, as we're seeing playing out now in the collective field with this is what we're experiencing now is like, to me, it's karma from the Holocaust. And I think a lot of light workers are picking up the same. This is the information that I channeled last year, in March last year, when I asked, what is this all about? And this was the information that I got, that it was some, we're repaying, and this is our opportunity to heal the karma of our ancestors. And so it's all, it's also the, to do with the Atlantean time as well. So basically the work that I'm doing now revolves around all of this. So I'm teaching people about the Akashic records, how to access their Akashic records, because everybody has their own Akashic library. It's a living library of information. Everything that we think, feel, do, speak, all our actions, it's all recorded in our consciousness. So our and this is basically stored at the mental plane, and this is basically what the Akashic records is. So the earth has her own Akashic records. Every living thing, every living being on the planet, whether it's a human being, an animal, a plant, all living things will have their own Akashic record. It's just recorded information. It's consciousness, recorded consciousness. So I'm basically teaching people how to work with this energy, how to access their own Akashic records, to receive their own divine information, divine guidance, past life experiences, and also, if they want to be a practitioner, how to help other people, how to read other people's Akashic records. And yeah, that's it basically, and that's simple version. But one thing I would like to add is you do not have to be psychic to read the Akashic records. It is available to you. So I'm teaching people how to communicate with their higher self, because what's happening with a lot of people, like the majority of people in the world, their higher self, lower self channels are blocked because of what they're consuming, because of what they're breathing in, the toxins in the air, the products they're using, many other reasons. People are in a slumber, people are in a sleep state. So I'm basically helping you to unplug from the matrix, detach from this false matrix programming, this artificial matrix. And then once it's a progress, and teaching you how to communicate, to open and activate your higher self channels, so that you can access your own Akashic records and you can receive your own guidance from your own higher self, because you are the only person that you should be receiving guidance from, not a guru, there's a lot of amazing teachers out there, but you are your own guru. So it's basically, we're working with your higher self, and your higher self is communicating to you your journey, your path, your elixir, and basically what you need, rather than a generalized path. A lot of people can practice yoga and various meditations, and this is general. So it's teaching people how to find their own path in accordance to what their experiences are, what their level of consciousness is in the given moment, because we're obviously fluctuating between levels of consciousness at any one time. So yeah, that is basically, I'll shut up now. That's it in a nutshell.
No, it's brilliant. I love it. I could listen to you for hours.
I could talk about it for hours, sorry.
Oh, no, that's why I've got you on, because I think you've just got such a wealth of knowledge and experience. And I know, like, my personal experience with you was extremely powerful and is literally set in motion. So
Yeah.
it feels very freeing. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. I wanted to touch on something that you said about so obviously I do Reiki, and like the label I guess that I've given myself is a Reiki healer. However, I totally agree with you, and this is something that I bang on about. My followers are probably sick of it. The healing journey starts with you, like you are in control of it. The way I see it is we're just sort of like conduits to help or guide or do you know what I mean? So I really resonate with that. And also, there was something else that you said that I wanted to pick up on. I just feel that what you said about getting people in touch with their higher selves and not needing to be psychic is such an important message, because I feel that every single one of us on this planet are, you know, like a little shard of source or whatever you kind of resonate with. And all of us have, you know, again, this is just a label, abilities, extrasensory things that we have, but it's just whether you choose to tap into that. And so I think that's a really important point, that you don't need to call yourself psychic, or we've all got that power.
Yeah.
Oh, you've gone quiet, Mia. You're back.
Yeah. We basically, I just need to plug my phone in, sorry.
No,
we
that's
are
okay.
receivers, we are receivers and transmitters of energy. You know, we receive and transmit information through our pineal gland.
Yeah.
And also from our morphogenetic chakras. So, and what's happened over the many decades and even centuries, the dark forces are very aware of our multi-dimensional powers as being communicators of, you know, we can channel, all of us have the ability to channel spiritual intelligence, divine intelligence, universal intelligence, right? And we can also channel intelligence from other star races, from extraterrestrials. We all have this capacity, and we do this via our morphogenetic chakras, and, you know, particularly our pineal gland, which is, you know, it's basically a beacon for receiving and transmitting information. So, you know, the governments, the dark forces, whatever you want to call them, are aware of this. And so what they've done is, in order to be able to control the masses, then, you know, they know very well how the subconscious mental body is working, right? I mean, we can go back to, you know, science and back to the 18th century with Einstein and Charles Darwin and all the information that they downloaded and received. And of course they were, you know, they were shut up, basically. They were kept quiet. You know, the forces didn't want them, the opposing forces didn't want them to know the power that we had. So, you know, our pineal gland has been dumbed down again by the programming that we receive through mind control and through false matrix systems, such as the education system, religious system, you know, political systems and things. So it's all things that are designed to obviously dumb us down. But of course, people are waking up to this. A lot of people, as the planet's ascending, of course, humanity is ascending, and people are, whether people are aware of it or not, they're being upgraded. They're you know, chakra body systems. I know a lot of people still don't believe in the chakras, but, you know, the chakras are little recorders of information, and they also store information. So each of our energy centers, our chakras, are like their own little Akashic records. You know, they're each related to a specific organ and gland in the body, which basically is also communicating information based on that organ and gland, because each organ and gland has its own emotion, its own intelligence, and it communicates with the body, this intelligence. So these, you know, our chakras are very, very well known by these opposing forces, and so they've worked on, you know, feeding us products that will basically calcify our abilities to be able to tap into ourselves. So it's really easy to open your channels.
Yeah.
You just have to learn techniques and how to do it. And it's obviously, it takes time, it takes practice, but every single one of us has a psychic ability. We're all energetically sensitive. We're all empaths. We can all feel energy. We all sense energy. We've all thought about somebody and 2 minutes later that person's called them or knocked on the door or they've walked around the corner, or, you know, this is how energy works. You know, you think about something and it happens. Energy flows where intention goes. So, you know, you think about somebody, a day or two later, maybe they'll call you or you'll see them, and vice versa. So this is all, you know, sensory energy. We work through our senses, and our senses communicate. All our senses are communicating. So it's just, it's easy to do it. We just need practice. And people also need to have a belief that they can do anything, because when they believe they can, or they believe they can't, they're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. As I wrote yesterday on one of my little blogs, if you believe you can or you believe you can't, you were right.
Yeah, exactly. It's so true though, because our thoughts and our words and our actions are extremely powerful. And, you know, we do kind of, there is this element of creating our own reality, and there's so many layers to it. There really is. I wanted to ask you, if someone is completely new to the sort of spiritual realm, or whatever you want to label it, you know, everything's just a label, but where would you advise them to start if they wanted to start kind of like working on themselves, maybe clearing up their channels to receive information?
Yeah. Well, I would recommend people to start with simple meditation, with breath work, and perhaps Reiki, if they want, you know, go and have a Reiki session. I mean, Reiki is very gentle, it's very beautiful, and it's really simple energy to work with, and Reiki will give you what each person needs in that moment, is what the energy will give you. It's a very loving, very nurturing energy. I don't need to tell you because you know already, but, you know, for the purposes of our audience who may know, it's really gentle. And so, yeah, I can really recommend to start with any energy healing, any gentle energy healing like Reiki, or, you know, even quantum touch. But meditation is a first go-to, and it's just learning first how to breathe properly, because our breath is, when we're breathing, we're working with the science of our own body, right? So the breath is, it's science. It's not woohoo, hippie, whippy, doo-doo, energy, nonsense, fairies, stardust, and all that stuff. It's science. It's our body. And so when we can learn to breathe properly, then we can actually open ourselves up and create internal space within our energy body systems, and clear so much stagnancy and so much trapped energy just by tuning into the breath and learning to breathe. Because a lot of people, of course, they don't breathe. They just take the breath for granted. Everybody's shallow breathing, and they're breathing from the highest part of their lungs. So the lungs are huge. They go right down to the, you know, to the base of their ribs. And so many people are not using the middle and the lower part of their lung. They're just using the upper part. So it's learning to breathe properly through the whole of the lungs, so that the energy can actually, you know, channel through your central channel into each organ, into each gland, through all the energy centers. And, you know, when you are breathing consciously, then, you know, you are breathing in that, you know, vitality. You're breathing in pure air, clean air, as long as you're not in a city where it's really smoggy.
Right.
Yeah, if you know, you try to take yourself to a space where you are breathing in clean air, and just breathing in, you know, just breathing in the words, the energy, vitality, life force, purity, clarity, cleanse, light, you know, and then breathing out stagnancy, breathing out toxicity, breathing out tension, breathing out stress, and just letting go of all of the stuff that we don't want to hold on to in our body. And it's just a really simple, you know, if everybody did this for 10 minutes every day, just focusing on the breath, their life would change in a week. And I can guarantee by experience, their life would change within even less than a week. They will start to see shifts and changes in their body. They will open up all of their chakras. They would open up their body. They will just feel more internally more internal space. Their aura would start to expand, because a lot of people, when they're stressed, their aura's really close to their body. You know, that a healthy aura should be around 2 meters to 3 meters outside of the body. But the auras, a lot of people even have an inverted aura, where their aura is like inside of their body, because everybody's so protective. And, you know, we're conditioned to function in fight or flight, right?
Yeah.
How we're conditioned as humans. We're conditioned to be in this 3D survival state. So everybody's just, even they're so used to being in this state of being that they don't even know any different. So it's only when people start meditating or doing Reiki and they actually experience a higher vibration, a higher state of consciousness, or you know, what we can call the 5D state of being, that people actually experience periods of bliss and enlightenment that they've never experienced before. And so a lot of people then start to get addicted to Reiki and energy healing and meditation. Yeah. Like, I want to go back to this place again. I don't like to be in this fight or flight. But, you know, we could all be in this constant state, and we can be functioning from this state of higher consciousness if we just put the work in. But, you know, a lot of people are just, their lives are so busy, and people don't realize that, you know, hey, why don't you just get out of bed 15 minutes earlier? So instead of setting your alarm for 7 and getting ready for work, why you not set the alarm for 6:45 and just get up and just do 10 minutes of breath work before you continue your day? It's really super easy. And that's all people need to do, is just to put in that time and effort, and their life would change. But it's, as they say, you get out of life what you put into it. And, you know, if you put 100% in, you're going to get 100% out. And if you put 50%, then that's what you're going to get. So.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think you've given some really good like guidance there. And I think, you know, that's certainly how I really started, was setting my alarm, like you say, 15 minutes early. And just taking that space, because as a busy mum doing like working, you know, everything else, it was hard for me to find that time in the day. However, something I do say is, if you are struggling to find the time in the day, you consciously need to make it. Like, you literally need to schedule it into your diary. It's so important. And I feel like breath work and meditation are great places to start, because they're practical. They're tangible things that you can do. Also, just to add to that, just, you know, making small physical changes, like thinking about, and I'm really hypocritical about this, but doing exercise, like moving your body, literally moving that stagnant energy off, like shaking it off. You know, looking at the water that you're drinking, is it tap water or is it filtered water? That's really important. And looking at the foods that you're eating, because they're all practical, tangible things that you can do. With meditation, a question I get asked a lot is, I'm really struggling to meditate because I can't quiet the thoughts in my mind. I know you probably get asked that a lot too, right? One of my tips is to maybe start off with some guided meditation. So you can find a lot of those on YouTube, and they sort of talk you through things. However, with guided meditations, I think the trap that people can fall into is then they're literally letting someone else guide their thoughts. Whereas sometimes when you meditate, you just want to be sat to receive, you know, information or whatever. Do you have any like tips or guidance on that for people?
So the first misconception about meditation is to not to think, right?
Yeah.
So impossible. As humans, it's absolutely impossible to switch your mind off and stop thinking. Even the Buddha couldn't do this. So it's not about not thinking and switching your mind off. It's about presence. Meditation is just about being present and sitting with your thoughts and having an awareness of your thoughts, because most of the time we are, as I've mentioned, we're functioning in a default mode. We're constantly in a fight or flight, and we run 90 to 95% of our daily lives on a default from our subconscious mind. There's very little of our conscious mind that's actually that's actually working with us through our daily lives. It's only when we're doing something that we haven't done before that we have to pay attention and be conscious of something, so we don't, either hurt ourselves or put ourselves in danger. But generally, we as a rule of nature, we're running from a subconscious mind. So we drive subconsciously, we peel the potatoes subconsciously, we clean our house subconsciously. It's only, again, if we're driving somewhere that we're not aware of, that we don't know, that we're conscious and we're looking at our surroundings. But generally, we're coming from the subconscious. So it's all about sitting consciously, breathing consciously, and consciously being aware of your subconscious thoughts. You're finding, if you're sitting there thinking, you know, oh, it's really grey outside today. Oh, I've got to go to work today. Oh, gosh, I've got to do this, that, and the other today. Oh, you know, and you're thinking like this, you're lowering your vibration with your thoughts. So it's, oh, wow, my thought, I'm being really negative. Okay, change the vibration. What can I do? Focus on something that's good. I've woke up today, and having gratitude for the fact that you've woke up where many people don't wake up. Having gratitude for the fact that you've got a roof over your head where people don't have it. Just really simple things like this can just bring you into your presence and bring you into a state of gratitude, and that state of gratitude will shift your vibration. And really difficult because most of us are coming from a place of trauma, because again, we've been programmed to bury our traumas. We've been programmed to just shut up and get on with life. So we're coming from, you know, all our experiences and actions are generally coming from a space of fear, which is a result of negative experiences that we've had in the past, or also old trauma experiences that we've had in the past. So if we are being negative for whatever reason, whether you're running like anger energy, whether it's frustration energy, whether you're just sad or lonely or depressed or whatever it is, it's just kind of tapping into that emotion and sitting with it, not running away, because this is the shadow that is creating or perpetuating your limiting beliefs, the beliefs you have about yourself, the fears that you have. You know, they're all coming from from our past experiences. So it's, you know, when we can sit with ourselves in meditation, we can basically ask, what can I do today that will change my tomorrow for the better? And, you know, the first thing is just to breathe, just learn to breathe properly so that you can actually move energy through your body. And one of my go-to quick fixes when I'm feeling in a low vibration, I will just put my headphones on. If I'm going to bother anybody, I'll just put my headphones on and listen to some, I'm really into my dance music, house music and shamanic music. So I'll just put some drums on or some high vibrational music, and I'll just have a 10-minute jig around the house. No, just put some high vibrational music on where I can literally just sing my heart out for 10 minutes, and it just changes my vibration. That's my quick go-to happy place. And if you can do that for 10 minutes and just dance around the house for 10 minutes like crazy, as the saying goes, you know, dance like nobody's watching you.
Yes.
It's really, one, you're moving your body, so you're going to move energy through your body. And two, it's high vibrational, so it's going to shift your level of consciousness. So if you are in a real low conscious state of being, and you're in that negative state, and everything's negative around you, and you can't think happy thoughts, then just do something as simple like this, like just put some music on, just dance around, sing, and then just do some breath work, move the energy through your body, and just watch your life change. There's some simple things that we can do, but people put so much pressure. When I teach meditation to people, I don't say, right, we're going to meditate, because the word meditate, it creates resistance in people. And so people just go into this resistance. Oh, I can't meditate. I've tried meditation, but I can't do it. So it's not, we're just going to breathe. We're just going to sit here for 5 minutes, and we're just going to breathe. And then I'll teach you another tool, and then I'll teach you another tool. And then, so I usually, when I do a meditation one-to-one session, I'll teach people a few different techniques so that they can do, 5 or 10 minutes every day, a different technique, so they don't get bored. Because this is the thing, a lot of people get bored. If they were to sit for 10 minutes every day and breathe, then they would get bored. But also, people need structure, and people need a focus. And Another thing that I think is, if somebody's in a dark space, the last thing they want to do is sit in silence and breathe and listen to their own thoughts, because everybody wants to escape their dark spaces. But it's only when we sit in that darkness that we can actually learn, clear it and heal it, because we do have to face those dark spaces. But initially, we can do a meditation where you're focusing on a specific, whether it's a mantra, whether it's chanting Om, whether it's doing some specific breath work with your hands, whether it's Zen counting, whether it's moving meditation. Initially it's good to start off with something. So I would always work with a client based on where they are in the moment. And so if somebody's suffering from deep trauma, I would not tell them to go and sit silent for 10 minutes. I would give them some other practices to do, so they can first shift some of that energy through their body and release some of that energy, so that they can get themselves into a space where they can sit with it. So it depends on the person and where they're at and what they're experiencing, because the last thing to do is, or somebody who's got PTSD, for example, or they've experienced deep trauma, is tell them to go and sit with themselves for 10 minutes, because it'll tip them over the edge and send them into a spiral. So again, it depends on the person and what we're working with.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think you've given some great tips there. And I think with the healing process, it is a constant process, and just take it at your pace. There's no right or wrong, and don't compare your journey to anybody else's, because something I say is comparison is the thief of joy. And we're all individuals, we've all experienced different things. Like you say, some individuals have deep trauma. We all have a level of trauma, I think, but everyone's different in what they've experienced. Something that I wanted to touch on as well that you brought up was some of this work is very heavy, and it brings things to the surface that can feel really uncomfortable for us, like our darkness, our shadow side, and our instinct is to run away from that. But my perspective is, if you run away, it will come back up at some point. So you can't keep running forever. So if someone is feeling frightened or fearful when those things pop up, do you have any sort of advice around that, how to deal with the fear?
Well, it's difficult because everybody is going to be a different stage. So it would be, again, I would work with people on a one-to-one basis and basically work with their energy. So nobody's going to heal anything if they don't first of all, they have to make that conscious intention that they want to heal. They also have to, the first and most fundamental step to healing is acknowledgement and awareness. So first you have to acknowledge that you have issues and that you need help with issues, and have an awareness kind of what it is. And if you haven't got that awareness, work with somebody that can help you. So when I started on my journey 15 years ago, I was in suffering from depression. I was suffering. I don't like to use that word suffering, but I was. Really suffering with depression and anxiety. And I didn't know why, because I thought that my life was happy. I was traveling. I was living in Ether at the time. I was living in the paradise, in the best place in the world. So I didn't understand why I would be depressed, why I'm having this anxiety. I just knew that I was experiencing it. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know a way out. And a friend kept telling me, go and see a mutual friend of ours who was a Reiki healer. Go and have some Reiki with her. And I'm like, what can this Reiki do? Somebody just putting their hands on me. How is this going to happen? Right. I was really the skeptical. And even though
I was the same.
Even though I've been practicing yoga and meditation and things before, I wasn't doing it enough to create any movement. So anyway, story short, I went to have a Reiki session and it blew me away. It literally lifted. And I worked with this woman for about a month, maybe 2 months in total. And I had a couple of Reiki sessions with her, and I also had a vibrational healing sessions with her. But she identified that I was holding some traumas from specific ages.
Right.
And was asking me about my childhood, and I'm like, oh yeah, no, I've had a really happy childhood. My childhood's really relaxed, and yeah, no problems. And she said, okay, well, there's this from this age, another healing brought up something else. And so she identified 2 or 3 experiences that I'd had when I was a small child. And so I had no memory, but I felt amazing from the Reiki. And then I had to go and ask my mother, so what happened to me around or what happened in our world at this age and the other age. And there were 3 incidences, and wow. When she told me, I was like, wow. And I thought my life, so like 3 huge traumas, where 2 where my brother almost died, which was very traumatic for me when I think I was 4 years old, the first one. 3 years old, the first one, 4 years old, the second one. And then I was 7 on the other one. I got lost on a beach, and I was taken to a children's home. So I've always grown up with this fear of and fear of abandonment, and I never knew why. So when she identified this, me getting lost on a beach, and this trauma that I would have experienced as a 6-7-year-old girl, then it helped me to understand. And it's only when I asked my mother, like, I saw myself when she told me this story. I actually saw myself hiding behind a boat on this beach, and I still didn't know what it was. I was just thinking I was dreaming. So I asked my mum, and she said, oh yeah, you got lost. You were in a children's home for like 4 or 5 hours. We had the police and everything looking for you. And I remember when she said that, I just got this vision of my mum and dad walking into this children's home and me shouting at them, you left me. I was really angry and so upset with them because I thought they left me. But what that's brought to me all my life was having this fear of people leaving me. But again, until I actually identified this trauma, I didn't know where this fear was coming from. As soon as I identified it, then I could work on healing it. So, and I just went through, I went through the emotions. I cried, I grieved for, talk to my little child. I had to nurture my inner child and tell her she was safe and that it's okay, and do some inner child healing. I worked with a shaman. But yeah, that helped me. And that was the start of my healing journey. That first year was like massively revealing for me, and it cleared a lot of traumas. But I knew that I had to go through all these dark experiences, and I knew that I had to relive the experiences with my brother. But it's not just the experiences that happened with the trauma, it's all the stuff that I was carrying as a result of that. Because when we can identify the root, which is what I do with the Akashic records, when I do an Akashic reading for somebody, I'm tapping into the root of the block, or the root of the trauma, which creates symptomatic blocks and trauma. So we can create hundreds of programs and blocks and smaller traumas as a result of a root trauma. So it's massive, and we can create so many negative beliefs and fears as a result of these experiences, and then it just takes over our life and it defines us. It becomes our personality, it becomes our character. So once we can heal and get to hit the root and identify the root and work on clearing and healing the root, then it will organically heal all the symptomatic traumas and blocks and programs that you're running as a result. And your whole personality. I've seen people have massive personality changes when I've done an Akashic reading for them and we've gone through the healing process. They've literally had major shifts, and I've literally seen them change from grey, gaunt, to like bright beacons of light. I've seen people with huge experiences just from clearing all the... And sometimes we don't even need to actually work on physically clearing or healing something. It's just once it's been acknowledged and identified, your body automatically, when it's like, okay, I'm ready to release it now, your body will just release it. So we can organically heal and clear it, but it needs to be acknowledged. So it needs to be identified, to be acknowledged, and to be brought into our conscious awareness for it to facilitate any shifts, you know, for us to catalyze an alchemizing process where we can, you know, work it through our body and understand how is it influencing me? How is it controlling my life? How is it causing, you know, what kind of distractions is it causing? Because a lot of time it's creating distractions with people's positive self-expression. And our soul purpose is here to express itself, but it can't express itself when it's humans just so blocked and closed. So the soul's like, hey, human, wake up.
So true.
So I can express myself.
Oh, I can identify with so much of your journey, and I'm pleased that you addressed that, because my next question was going to be like, how did you get into this? So you've already answered that, which is amazing. And I can draw so many comparisons from my own journey as well. Like, you know, I suffered from anxiety, and I don't like to use the term suffered, but I was suffering post-traumatic stress disorder after the birth of my son, and I started seeking answers, I guess, from the spiritual realm, and I came across a lady who was a Reiki healer, and I hadn't ever really heard of it before. And again, like you, I had a session and I was just like astounded, because I'd gone through counselling, which works for some people, doesn't work for other people. My counsellor was brilliant, but it only got me to a certain level of healing, like the mental stuff, but there was still a lot of triggers for me to work through, and I found like that Reiki session really unblocked me. And then I went on to train in Reiki with her, and then doing what I do now, to cut a long story short. So it's really fascinating that and I think I find this with a lot of, you know, light workers or whatever, you know, whatever you term it. It seems like you go through a really dark period, and then, you know, something like that happens and you're like, whoa, there's something more out there, and it deepens your journey, and then you go on to help others, which is just amazing. So, and I think as well, the inner child stuff, and what you said as well about having the knowledge and the awareness around what causes certain behaviors that might be blocking you. So, you know, for you, the roots of that was in your childhood, and a lot of what I feel a lot of people's roots of trauma and things are from their childhood.
Yeah, sure.
And I think like the work that people like you and I do is just helping people to uncover that. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the reading and the clearing that I had with you, because I think it will be helpful for people to have like a case study, I guess, if you want to call it that. So you picked up on so much for me that I didn't even know like was going to come up, and it's really unlocked my journey to just a whole new level. And I've had so many compliments since having that healing and clearing, and even from people that didn't know that I had that with you. Like, people are saying, oh, you look different, you look brighter, your energy is amazing. I've had loads of inquiries, like for Reiki, like that's just took off, and people are like, oh, we want a bit of your energy, you know. And I'm like, okay, well, I know what the catalyst for this was, which was having my session with you. And you gave me some amazing tools to discover, you know, the roots of some of the behaviours that I've been experiencing. And I just want to say as well that Mia and I hadn't spoken really before the session, only to book the session. Mia was recommended to me by a friend, and then another friend brought her up, and I was like, okay, she's coming into my sphere of consciousness for a reason. And I know with messages that are repetitious, that is usually a little nudge from my guides, like, pay attention. So I booked a session with you, and I really wasn't sure what to expect, if I'm honest, but you picked up on so many things. You know, there was ancestral stuff, you know, there was history of abuse with men, and I didn't really understand that at the time. After going and digging and asking some questions to my mum and my dad, there has been so much that's come out, and revelations in my family as well that have surfaced since this session, which has also led to a very healing experience for my parents. So I just want to say this work is so powerful. It literally has a ripple effect.
Yeah,
It has such a knock-on effect. And that has also opened up healing between me and my parents with some issues, not really issues, but like some things that were holding us back before. Yeah, I feel like I'm more closely connected with them. Also, like, sorry, Mia, go on.
I just said it. That amazing.
Yeah, it's just been an incredible experience. And then, you know, you picked up on some physical things, and I've started implementing some new supplements in, which I feel are really helping me. You also picked up on, you know, which sort of chakra was the most blocked. I don't know, like, and the energy that comes with that. And that has been, I think that was the main thing that I took away, because that energy of disempowerment, so I'm just going to be vulnerable and share, was my solar plexus chakra. And that energy of disempowerment had permeated like my entire life. Almost any traumatic experience that I've had, that energy has like permeated every single experience. So just having the self-awareness that you gave me around that was just magical in itself. Because it helped me put together almost like little fragments of my life. I could piece them together like a puzzle and start to unlock more things. Yeah, there was so much more to it. I mean, obviously I haven't got time to go fully into detail, but also when you we connected for the healing and clearing session afterwards, you know, you were amazing because you answered a lot of questions that I had in my mind. And after that, I just literally felt like a huge weight had been taken off my shoulders. Like it was a physical sensation. And the experience that I had as well, during that time where I was lying down and closing my eyes and kind of connecting in, you know, I actually felt that I was taken to a place, and when I described it to Mia afterwards, she was like, that's like my house.
I thought about that. The astral plane, weren't we? Like literally physically together in the astral plane. Yeah, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah. And I was just like amazed by that, because there's no way I can like know what your house looks like, even down to the fact that it had like little stairs going up to it, and yeah, like the color of the flowers that were surrounding you, and like the wildlife. And I've never been to like Thailand, so there's no way that I could have like known that. So it was a very powerful experience, and it's just activated so much in me. I feel, you know, more motivated with my soul purpose. I know what I'm supposed to be doing. I've got a better sense of who I am. You also picked up on some past life stuff, some energy with some of my relationships, which made absolute sense. And I'm big on past life stuff as well, so that was just amazing. But yeah, I think the main takeaway has just been the amount of, you know, the amount of people that have noticed the change and the shift in me since that session. It's like tangible. And yeah, I just really recommend that if you're thinking about getting a session, to go with Mia, and I hope to be training with you in the future. I know that I will. I've just got to sort my shit out, really. I know, what else was I going to say? There was something else that I wanted to cover with that.
Can I just jump in just quickly?
Yeah, go on.
Just to top, just wrapping up your healing. When a lot of people think that there's something wrong with them, you know, when they've got all these blocks and they don't know what the root of the block is, or they don't even know where it's coming from or why. But you know, people might have a block to loving, they might have a block to receiving love, they might have a block, financial blocks, they might have abundance blocks, they might have just blocks that they're not even aware of, and just think that there's constantly, what is wrong with me? Why do I keep attracting the same abusive relationships, why everything I do turns to shit, everything I do, there's no point even starting it because I'll just fail anyway. You know, a lot of people have got they're really down on themselves, and really their self-talk's really critical. And a lot of people, they just think, oh, what is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? I hear some, and I used to do it myself. What is wrong with me? Why can't I do anything right? And getting really angry with myself and frustrated.
Yeah.
But when we can bring, you know, having an Akashic reading, and we can bring these blocks into your, as I mentioned, into your awakened consciousness, because it's all blocks in the subconscious. So when you can bring this information and identify the programs that people are running. So in your case, one of the programs was disempowerment.
Yeah.
So everything you were doing was coming from a disempowered place. So, and these, you know, the root of it can be past life, it can be childhood, it can be mind control program, it could be inherited from your ancestors, it could be inherited from the collective consciousness. But when we can identify the root of the pattern, the program, the energy behind the program, people just, it's like a relief. It's a weight off people's shoulders that they think, wow, if there's something wrong with me. So this is coming from a past life trauma or from a childhood trauma that they've blocked out all their life. Like I blocked out I had 3 significant childhood traumas that were so painful. And of course, our brain is wired to shut down pain memory. It doesn't want us to keep experiencing and reliving, you know, these experiences, because they're painful and it's going to hurt us. Also, parts of our soul can fragment in order to not continue reliving, you know. So if you've had a past life trauma, part of the soul could have fragmented and left the body, so it doesn't have to continuously repeat the you know, the energies of the traumas. And the soul can fragment in present life. You know, children, I had soul fragmentation as a result of being lost, so I had to work with a shaman to do some soul retrieval to bring myself back to myself, to bring myself back into wholeness, right? Because when parts of our soul is fragmented, we can just literally wander around the world aimlessly, searching for something outside of ourselves, thinking it's something external, like a boyfriend, a lover, a baby, a husband, or whatever. And it's not. It's actually us. We're searching for us because we're incomplete. There's that part of our soul, that percentage of our soul that's fragmented and left the body. So we need to, you know, when we can heal the trauma and identify that trauma and heal it in our physical self in that moment, then we can gently coax the soul back into the body, you know, just working with the soul, that the soul knows it's safe to come back, so we can feel complete. So that in itself is such a small thing to do, but it's such a powerful thing that we can do, because like I said, it's going to change your whole life. When you can bring yourself back into wholeness, then it's life changing. But also just for the simple fact of people knowing, wow, it's not me, I'm not this crazy person, I'm not this imperfect person, not this blah blah blah, whatever they tell themselves as a result of the programming. It's like, this is coming from this. And that's not to not take self-responsibility, because we all, you know, everything that's happened to us is a result of the choices that we've made, whether or not we like to admit this. It's all, you know, all the things that happen to us is a result of our choices. What karma is, you know, karma is just, it's a consequence of a choice that we make at the level of action. So when we're creating these negative karmic patterns, we create them as a result of the choices that we make. But, you know, these karmic patterns, which is what we're looking for in the Akashic Records, they run specific programs. And, you know, these programs, they can be running from any chakra points, you know, and again, I identify which chakra the program's running, in your case coming from the solar plexus, which makes sense. Disempowerment, self-esteem, self-confidence. Obviously, it's, you know, it's kind of, you've got no fire, there's no agony in your body, no motivation, no discipline, no, you know, so we're just in a constant state of negative surrender, right? And then you end up just being in a procrastination space. So that's one way, disempowerment in, you know, in your specific case. But it just helps to people to, it just lifts, it's a weight off, like, oh, thank goodness, but it's not just me. It's like, this is why. Now I can work on it. Now I can fix it. Now I know what I'm working with. Now I can, you know, basically that it's empowering for people to know what their issues are and to identify their blocks and their traumas. It's just, you know, giving them the opportunity to take back their own power and take responsibility for their own healing processes. And that's it.
Yeah, I love that. And that's exactly how I felt. I just felt really empowered after the session, because I had like, it was almost like I'd added more tools to my toolkit. It was like I had this new knowledge and this new awareness about why certain events in my life had happened, you know, and I could release a lot of that guilt as well that I was putting on myself. I mean, of course, like I take responsibility for everything in my life, like with choices, but then there's just so many layers, isn't there? There really is. So one of the last things that I wanted to touch on was, during my reading, you also gave me my soul archetype. Now I know that a lot of people will have researched this on the internet, and you know, with the internet there's a lot of information out there, so you know, you'll find conflicting pieces. But what you gave to me, I mean, you identified my soul archetype as priestess, and I found that really interesting. And that has, again, like given me so much more knowledge about myself, so much more self-awareness. And you kind of listed the sort of traits that come with that soul archetype. So for me, it's very much about like helping to teach people, helping to guide people, like but then you also, which I found really interesting, was identified the dysfunctional aspects of that. So you know, the things that we might struggle with. Right, the duality of it. So I found that so interesting, because like some of the things that you said I can resonate with so much. Like sometimes you might come across a bit preachy or like on your high horse, and that can trigger people. And I was like, oh my God, like how are you seeing into my soul? Like it was just so funny. So I just wanted to highlight that Mia, you know, is amazing at that aspect as well. And yeah, it was a very transformative experience for me. So do you want to speak a little bit about how people can like book with you, or contact you, or whatever, or work with you?
Thank you, if anybody's still here listening.
Well, I'm going to repost it as well so people can play it if it lets me.
Yeah, thank you, and thanks to everybody who's listening. So if you are still here at this stage, then miarenner.com. So my name, Mia, M-I-A, and then Renner, R-E-N-N-E-R.com is my website. And then you can just go on my website and see all the work that I do: Akashic Records readings, quantum light body healing, I teach Akashic Records. I teach a 4-part program called Alchemy and Matrix Reprogramming, which is basically all of this work we've just talked about, which is working on the subconscious, the beliefs and the fears. So the Akashic Records works on identifying all of the blocks, the past life blocks, the present life blocks, the traumas, etc. So that's like a holistic healing. And the Alchemy and Matrix Reprogram is an inner work program. So basically that is whereby I teach you to tap into your own Akashic Records. I teach you tools how to identify your own beliefs, your own fears, your own imprints, your own inherited beliefs, fears, imprints, and how to clear them. And so it's it's an intense 4-part program, but it's basically a lifetime program. So with these tools, you will be able to then identify any future beliefs that you create, any future fears that you create, any future programs that you create. And it will just give you an insight. It's a self-investment to a lifetime process of healing. And there's just so many simple things that we can do. But a lot of people need structure, right? So just coming back briefly onto, you know, it's what I was talking about before with the matrix, the false matrix, and all the mind control programming. So the whole world needs to have structure. There needs to be order, you know, there needs to be leaders and kings and queens, because humanity needs leading, you know. Otherwise there would be chaos. There would be utter chaos in the world. So the laws that were brought into society hundreds of years ago, or even 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years ago, were brought in to keep order. And you know, they were what were called natural laws, common laws, the laws of God, which is all about do not harm, do not kill, and do not steal. And so they were the principal natural laws. But over the years, it's just been indoctrinated. It's been intersected by the opposing, the shadow forces. It's been taken over by, we are a result of, we still have reptilian brain. We are a lot of humanity. The race previous to the human race was a reptilian. We were a reptilian race. So this is why we have the reptilian brain. And we've gone through a process of change, and we've got the reptilian race. They didn't have a heart. So the human race has a heart. So the reptilians need our energy. They need our life force in order to survive. I don't want to get too much into this because it's getting a little bit out.
No, I think we could make a whole separate video on this, but carry on. I think it needs to be said.
Yeah, but all of this indoctrination and control programming that we're having is because the reptilians who are still, the reptilian race, who are a lot of who are in power and control, because they're a very, very powerful race. They need our life force energy. They need our heart. So this is kind of what we're up against. So it's kind of it just got intercepted and taken over. But we can detach. We can learn how to detach. And I think if we have knowledge of the false systems that we're being governed by, then we know we can, like I do. I make the system work for me. I don't work for the system. I stepped out of the system, and when I want to use the system, I step back into it. I work for myself. It's took me 10 years to get to this point where I'm working for myself. To manifest the dreams that I wanted. So I didn't have to work a 9-to-5 life. So I can live in beautiful locations like Thailand and travel around the world working online. So, the work that I'm doing, it's teaching people how they can create this base, create this foundation for themselves, remove and clear all the mind control programming, remove and clear all their self-perpetuated blocks, all their inherited blocks, so that they can open themselves up to manifesting whatever it is that they want to dream, to what they dream of, what they desire, nobody has to work a 9-to-5 job that they don't want to do. We didn't come here to do this. We didn't come here to live this life. We didn't come here to be told that we can't travel and that we have to wear a face covering and to
things.
To be coerced into things, to be persecuted, to be gaslighted by, an opposing force, a shadow, shadow governments and things. We hired these people to give us direction and to keep order, but it's just got out of control. So now humanity needs to take back power, but we can only do that by taking back power ourselves, by doing our own work and taking responsibility for our own actions, for our own healing, to change our lives. As Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change that you want to see. And it starts within. It's an inside job. And our external reality is, of course, it's a reflection of our internal reality. So if in our external world is chaotic, it's because our internal world is chaotic. So we need to change what's going on inside us first. We need to heal. We need to emanate peace within so that we can have that peace outside. And I know it's super difficult right now in this moment, what we're experiencing, because we're not used to being suddenly limited with so much. We've always had restrictions, but we've been programmed so much that we don't notice the restrictions. But now it's like it's taken on a whole new level. So, again, this last year has seen very subtle mind control programming again. Every June, July last year, for example, come October, there'll be another lockdown. So subtle programming, subtle mind control programming, pre-programming you for the lockdown that happened last autumn. So everybody accepted it. So this is how it works. It's just very subtle mind control programming. And then suddenly you don't realize that you're in it. And it's like, oh, shit, it's too late. Now what do I do? So this work is all about, heal thyself, heal thy neighbor, basically.
Yeah. I completely agree with everything that you've just said. And the way that the system is at the moment, you're absolutely right. These people, we put them in these positions because we're supposed to trust them. They're supposed to serve us as a collective, but it's not happening, is it? They're serving themselves and their own agenda. And it's time for us to kind of recognize exactly what you just said. We can shift the collective if we start working on ourselves. because what it is, it's a direct reflection of what's going on. And the more people that start to be brave and undertake this healing work, because there is a level of bravery that you need to do this, because there's some dark stuff that comes up, but we can then shift the collective more quickly, not to be impatient.
Yeah, it's changing the frequency of the energy around you, and that starts by changing your own frequency. So rather than being a victim of your environment and allowing your environment to dictate your frequency, your vibration, you shift and take charge of your own frequency and vibration, so that you can actually lift the vibration of your environment and bring it up to match your higher vibration, rather than being pulled down into the vibration. So if you've got a negative person around you, I mean, it's really difficult when we're dealing with family and loved ones who are so negative and they're vibrating at such a low frequency. It's really easy to be pulled down by these people. But by doing our practices, by doing our spiritual practices, meditation, yoga, listening to high vibrational music, just doing things that will lift your vibration, if you keep doing it, you're going to build up an immunity. So you're going to build up your own kind of spiritual immunity, so that you're going to build up a strength that these people who are of a low vibration, they can no longer pull you down to their vibration, but rather you will lift them. So we've all been in a situation where you've gone out for a coffee with your friend, for example, and you go out with, you got to meet your friend, you're feeling all happy and everything's cool, and then you go meet your friend and your friend's like, oh, my life is so bad. She's just split up with a boyfriend, or she's had an argument with a sister or a mother, or she's having a bad time at work, and then by the time you're finished, it's like you're like, oh my goodness, I need to go home and like have a bath, have a shower, I need to go home and smudge, put some Palo Santo or some sage around me, or because she's pulled you down, or you've allowed her to pull you down, or you've kind of sunk into her depths, into her vibration, because your energy field is weak, right? So she's pulled you down into her vibration because her vibration was stronger. That low density was stronger than your high vibration, so you've matched her vibration. When you're strong, rather than her pull you down, you're going to lift her up. So again, we've all experienced it where we've gone to meet our friend who's in a low vibration, and at the end of your coffee meeting, your friend's like, wow, I feel so much better, thank you so much, because you've pulled her up into your vibration, right? So it's really important that we do our daily practices to keep our vibration high, to keep our natural spiritual immunity. So we're not just talking about our physical immunity, we're talking about our spiritual immunity, our aura, keeping our energy centers harmonized, keeping our physical body strong, and not putting toxins in the body, because the toxins that you put in your body, as you said at the beginning of the session, will also lower your vibration. So if you're drinking 5 or 6 cups of coffee a day, that's going to lower your vibration. 1 coffee a day, okay. Coffee, we all know coffee beans, it's an antioxidant. So when it's used, anything that's used moderately can be a benefit to the body. But if you're drinking like 6 cups of coffee, then your body's going to be toxified, and it's going to pull you down, it's going to block your channels. Just having that awareness and just keeping yourself vibing high, however that works for you. Everybody needs to find their own, like I said, their own elixir, so their own tool to keep their vibration high, and then you can shift. You've got the power to shift the vibration around you. So again, if you're having a bad time with somebody at home, I'll finish with this. But if you're having a bad time with somebody in your home, your house, a family, a friend, a lover, your children, just sit in the moment with your eyes closed, call in your higher self, call in the higher self of the person you're having difficulties with, and have a conversation with them. Ask them to show you why they're angry at you, or you express why you're angry at them. Have a higher self communication conversation with them, not a lower 3D self where you're angry and you're shouting at each other. Have a sensible spiritual conversation and tell them, whatever happens, I love you, and I love myself, and I respect myself enough to love you and give you the space that you need to work through your own processes, and I'm here to help you to work through. And this is like such a simple tool to have a higher self conversation with somebody. It can shift the whole dynamics of a relationship, because you're taking, you're literally clearing the energy and having this, and the other person will feel it, even though it's not coming from the 3D self. It's not a lower self conversation. It's not a physical personality conversation. It's a spiritual conversation. But spiritual conversations, you can express to somebody what you want to express to them without them jumping in and talking over you, and shouting at you and saying, but, because quite often the ego doesn't listen. It just wants to talk over people all the time. So when you're talking to somebody, that person's not listening to you. They're literally creating the answer that they want to come back at you with, or the retort that they want to come back at you with, before you've even finished your sentence. So they actually haven't listened or registered anything that you've just said. It's literally gone straight through, because they're more focused on the answer. But if you have a spiritual conversation with them, you can actually express yourself fully. And you can then sit there and say, okay, so what's your response? And you can actually sit there and allow them the space to express from a spiritual, a higher self level, what they want to express. And you will receive that information. It's amazing. It's such a simple practice. And this is what I tell all my clients to do when they're experiencing difficulty in their relationships. I had one woman who had her 2 children, a relationship with her kids and her mother, they all lived together. She just said it was really, really difficult, but I just gave her this little practice and just said, communicate with each of them in a different time. And in a week, she sent me a message and she said, wow, my relationship with my whole family has changed. I can't believe that this works. This is incredible. But it's amazing. And like I said, you get to express yourself without being interrupted.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of times that we get into conflict with family members and friends, I think that's just such valuable advice, especially in times like these where people's egos are rife, people's shadow side is rife. I feel like what's happening in the collective is just literally everybody's stuff is coming to the surface, and if you are not self-aware about that, you will be projecting it onto other people, and sometimes we can be in the firing line with that, which is great fun. I'm not calling that in universe.
Of course. And we can be equally as guilty of it as well. Because of course, ultimately, even though, whatever path you're on, whether you're a healer or, whether you're very awakened to yourself, whether you're very self-aware and conscious, and, we all, ultimately, we're all human and we all have our faults. We have to have the polarities, what's black is white, love, hate, and there's polarity in everything. And as humans, we're binary beings. So we have, we live in a polarity. We live in the universe is polarity. The law of polarity is one of the spiritual laws. So just as the law of karma and the law of vibration, the law of resonance, it's the law of polarity. It's a spiritual law. So we have to accept our positives and our negatives, and work on building. When we are aware of our polar or our shadows, then it's just work on healing them, and so that you can be the best version of yourself, and just allow yourself to just surrender to yourself, surrender to your higher guidance, surrender control, and just surrender that control to your higher self and let your higher self guide you, because your higher self would never put you in a position that's harmful to you. Never. It's never going to put you in a situation that's harmful. Your lower self might, but your higher self never will. So surrender to your higher self, allow yourself to be guided by your soul self, which is your higher self. And if you want to learn more about tuning into your higher self, and this calls you, then drop me a message and see how we can work together, how I can help you, or I recommend starting with an Akashic reading if you're new to the work, because it will reveal so much for you. And then of course after the Akashic reading, then we do a healing to clear everything and heal. and then, you know, go from there. See if you want to go deeper with things, you know, how, because it's not just once we clear the programs and the energies, then we've got to work on the beliefs and the fears and the ancestral, the inherited stuff. So it's an ongoing, it's not like boom, you have an Akashic reading. These readings are super in depth, you know, they literally cover so much, and they're very, very in depth, and they will clear all your root blocks and restrictions. But again, we've got to repattern and reprogram the thinking, the thought processes. So the matrix, the alchemy and matrix reprogramming program is really good for that. And then the Akashic readings, the Akashic records training is not for beginners. It's only for other healers and people already on an awakened path, because it's intense, super intense work. So yeah, it's definitely not for beginners. But the matrix, the alchemy and matrix reprogramming, it's working with the Akashic records, but it's an inner work journey. So it's basically a really in-depth journey, and it's a good follow-up to the Akashic records reading. So I will leave it at that.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really feel like I could literally talk to you for hours. I think we should definitely link up and do like a little part 2. Maybe we can, if we can get away with not being banned. I'm so conscious about what I'm saying. Like maybe we could do a part 2 about, you know, the awakening process, or whatever people term it, Ascension, all of that stuff, because I think like
open it to the guest who's watching and ask them what they would, out of everything that we've talked about today, what would you like to go deeper with, what would you like to know about? And then make a part 2.
Perfect. So if anyone's watching this on playback, please pop a comment and let us know if Mia and I link up again, what you'd like us to talk about, and we'll have a look at your suggestions, and then we'll see which one feels right. So thank you so much again, Mia. It was an absolute pleasure. I've personally gained so much from this conversation as well. I had a couple of little light bulb moments, so it's always a pleasure to speak to you.
So much for having me on your Insta TV. That's amazing.
Okay, well, I'll speak to you soon.
Lovely. Take care.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. Have a beautiful day. Bye.
You too.